Hello the internet and welcome back to the live stream. It is Saturday the 13th of June 2020 and today I will be live for 107 minutes. 107 minutes. What does that make it in terms of hours? 1 hour and 47 minutes. If my math is correct. Now it may not be correct in the sense that I'm a little nervous here. You see me come out here on YouTube weekly and I still get the nerves, I get the shakes. I don't know if it's a combination of being awake and streaming early or if it's just the case of I'm a little nervous because it's YouTube, right? So many things can go wrong here on YouTube. So many things can work against you, let's just say. However, a number of things have been working in my favor recently on YouTube. Now, what am I referring to? And this is not the discussion of today, but we can take our time getting into the discussion. I've discovered stories recently on YouTube. If you know what stories are, you'll know what I'm about to talk about. Yes, they exist on Snapchat, they exist on Instagram, they've existed on YouTube for some time. I think you need to have 10,000 subscribers before you get stories activated on your channel, and it's only on iOS and Android, not on desktop. I did see it there about, I don't know, I think I put up a story. I mean, it's last summer, right? I was doing a snorkel review last summer. Was it the summer before? Shit, might have even been the summer before the one that's just come. Either way, I grew tired of it. I didn't like it. And I didn't use it again. And then for some reason, I don't know what it was, but for some reason, I just tripped over it again recently. And I thought, well, this is a really sweet way to showcase quick, easy snippets of surfing content. Just easy to grab, easy to put up. And I can put titles over it and talk about like where it was shot and who it is. And I jumped at it. I jumped at the chance to use it. And I'm really, really loving it. In fact, one of my stories, 800 views. Which is a far cry more than any of my daily vlogs, let's just say, right? The daily vlogs don't get that many views. So here's the thing. Does the story go out to more of your subscribers in terms of notifications? I don't know, but obviously it did because 800 people watched that first one. And obviously, you know, maybe it was curiosity because each one since then has kind of dropped off in number view. But certainly, and by the way, stories only last, I think, 7 days or 6 days. So once they're up there, but they do disappear. Let's talk a little about stories in a second. Let's continue the chat about stories. But I want to go on and converse with the chat here because this is a live stream. It's important to discuss the chit chat. Up on the top, I began the chat this morning with "Hello the internet." I also just realized I didn't turn the heat on in here. It's gonna get cold. Although we got enough heat here with technologically advanced equipment giving out heat. Just want to wait for that to kick in. And then Jeffrey, Happy Canadian, turned up. Me and Jeff had a good chat. He said he's sorry for being missing in action. Dude, I get that. Like, you know, nobody has to apologize when they're not on my content. I'm gonna be here daily. I'm gonna be doing my thing. If you can slide in however it fits you, great, but there's no obligation, of course. So just whenever, however, whatever it can work for you, works for me. But thank you, Jeffrey, for being here. And dude, you don't need to apologize, man. You're all over my D-Live, and that's at a strange time for you. And you're up in the wee hours. Thank you, Jeff, and thank you for, you know what you've been doing. I was almost going to do a Mayunis, but then I remembered where I am. Calm down, Gives. You're on YouTube. There are no Mayunis! Calm down. He was talking about some huge wave action he's got right where he is, and I was wondering if there's any crew out there surfing. I haven't been surfing now since Monday. It's Saturday, so all day Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. This is the 5th day without surfing. And if I was to make a report about my ribs, It definitely, oh yeah, it's definitely still sort of touch if I put pressure on that. Whereas if I put pressure on here, nothing. If I put pressure on this side, I put pressure on this side, there's actually a little lumpsky there. I did a little bit of research. I think there's something known as surfer's knots. Knots, knots. Now, knots can be in your fingers, in your toes. It's like a build-up of like a repetitive strain growth, if you like. And maybe that's what I've got on this upper cage of my rib. On this upper rib of my cage. Sorry, it'd be the lower one, right? I don't know. But what I'm going to do, even though it's looking great out there this morning, I'm not going to surf. I'm going to wait till Monday. That'll be 7 full days. Although if it's nice again tomorrow, shit. The weekends, right? There's crew are out here. Maybe if I went for a surf, I could go gently into the night and assess how I feel. But I feel like I should give it a full week. Anyway, on Monday, if it's still shit and if it's still sore, I will go and get an X-ray. And we'll go from there. Back to the chat. So I said to Happy Canadian, to Jeffrey, you should put the drone up and get some shots because he's got a Mavic Mini. And I was saying, dude, put that up and get the shots of the surfers. Because you know what content really pops on YouTube? Surfing content from the beach. Not even the surfers, just dudes with cameras on the beach. And you put up a video call it The Wedge, 27th of June, 2020. Ripping. And that gets heaps of views. And all you got to do is put up the dude surfing. That's it. If you don't believe me, go and have a look at Raw Beefs. There's a channel called beefs.tv and they're smashing it with just that kind of content. Mind you, they're surfers and they're filming their friends. Raw Beefs. So I said I'm looking at the Air 2 for a wave a day. However, I've got to tell you, the more I think about it, the more I'm potentially going to do a wave a day winter edition POV entirely. Entirely POV. That's more about where I'm kind of leaning at this point. Get that hair out of my freaking face. But I will always have a beach camera to get the long shot. Now, what we'll do with that probably won't intersplice it into footage, but I will show it on the D-Live or on the story. Speaking of that, I do have the last surf that Sam and I had. So Sam and I surfed Monday when this was absolutely agonizing. We did a surf together. That's the last surf he had here before he left. And I do have the beach camera footage of that. There's about 4 different waves each where I was in agony, absolute agony. I couldn't duck dive, I couldn't paddle, I couldn't push up. So my surfing was pretty woeful. Sam got a few nice little cutbacks, and I want to run that for you today. Not as a slightly random, not as a super quick wave a day edit, but more as the raw footage, and we'll skim through it and talk about it. That's what I want to do on this stream as well. Because don't forget, we are, I keep saying it, we are now moving into long form streams, but we are now in long form streams. So I want to engage the content. The conversation will be about Starlink and the upload speeds, but we can get into that as the stream progresses, right? As we move into the meat of the stream, we can talk about the content, because that won't take the whole stream anyway. Just a little spoiler, there's not a lot of conversation from Elon or from the SpaceX crew or from anybody else about upload speeds. They're all talking gigabit speed. Now, gigabit is what it sounds like, 1 gigabit internet. So I understood that to be 500 megabits up and 500 megabits down. But it's not synchronous like that. It could be anything up and anything down. And what I need to know as a live streamer, and Elon, if you're watching this later on, because I did put your freaking name in the title, what will the upload speed be for your SpaceX Starlink satellite internets? Because here in Australia, we get shafted. Our internet's garbage. I'm streaming right now on a 4G connection. I'm using my 4G cellular service. And let me tell you, the way I've got it set up with 2 MIMO antennas, I'm in line of sight of my local tower. Yeah, we've managed to navigate how that works. I've got an AC800 from Optus. It locks on pretty decently. I'm streaming at 6,000 kilobits a second, 1080p 30. Pretty good. When we start moving, Elon, when we start doing IRL content, streaming from Stevan style, I'm going to be looking towards possibly using your Starlink internet However, nobody's talking about upload speeds. Will it be suitable for a streamer? I don't know. Love to hear your take on that, Mr. Musk. Of course, he's not watching, but that's what we want to talk about. We'll talk about that as we progress into the stream. Let's continue with the chit chat. And I was asking about the active track mode on the Mavic Air 2, the Mavic Mini that Jeff has, because the active track mode on the Phantom 4, which I have, is woeful. In fact, it's near on unusable for surfing anyway. Maybe for wearing a red sweater and walking through a green forest, it might be okay because red and green are a complete contrast. But for a guy wearing a green wetsuit in a green ocean or a blue ocean, the moment you duck dive, active track just goes, I don't know where that guy went, and never comes back. So I want to know if on the Mavic Mini, they've advanced the active track from the P4, and then I want to know if they've advanced it even further to the Mavic Air 2, which I understand they have, but yet no one on YouTube has done a video. Someone should just do a video called Active Track Mavic Air 2 for surfing. I mean, that would rate. If I could get my hands on a Mavic Air 2, which I'm going to, that's the first video I do, because I reckon that'll pop. And I said that's certainly one thing better about the Mavic series than the Phantom. Yeah, the Phantoms. I mean, the Phantom. This Phantom 4 is so sick for me checking the surf. I can put this out my door and fly it down to the break 3 kilometers away, or 1.5 kilometers, and get shots. And I can look at it and go, oh, there's a point break on this morning. Bring it back. Let's go surfing. That's perfect for that. And in high wind as well. Like I put it up in gale force winds, and you know you're going to get it back as long as you keep an eye on the battery and this and that. Fly low to the surface so that you don't get the currents. Happy Canadian, I really like how user-friendly his drone is. Yeah, they certainly made them user-friendly, and you can just pull that out of your thing and put the wings up and the blades up, and up you go. On the Phantom 4, you've got this big, bulky thing. You've got to have bags for it. You've got to have this and that. It's a little bit more of a mission, right? But it's important if you want to get, like I said, you want to fly in heavy wind and you want to check the surf, then I'll probably use the Phantom 4. But if you're just doing small things like active track in the ocean, definitely the Mavics. Look into the chat here. I'm getting down here, folks. I'm getting down the chat. This is the plan to get to the bottom of the chat. Mindy's up in the house. Hello, Mindy. Hey, guys. And Mindy said she kept forgetting to check out the story thing. It's a strange thing. Let me ask you guys this. Do you get a notification on YouTube for my story? How does it work? Like, what happens? Do you see a little drop down on the phone that I've put up another story or something? I don't even know how it works. YouTube has given me great suggestions lately, says Mindy. I said perhaps YouTube has been fixed. Well, let's not jump the gun, right? And Mindy says, as you guys know, I'm not really interested in subscriptions numbers, but I'd really like to meet interesting people. And I love the community part of YouTube. And I do enjoy uploading content on my own. And I jumped in and said, that's what I enjoy the most about online content creation. And I didn't limit it to YouTube. I also included DLive. I'm very, very lucky that DLive has been a great place for me to take my... It's been a great place for me to take a portion of my YouTube audience and then build on that with new crew. In an ideal world, I wouldn't need to do that. I could maintain that only on YouTube. But unfortunately, YouTube doesn't sustain and doesn't provide for the small creators in the way that a new emerging platform will do, can do, and has done. So on DLive, if I'm going to speak numbers, I've already achieved double what I would have achieved on YouTube in half the time. Not my disk almost. I got a message on my Mac saying your disk is almost full. Save space by optimizing storage. There. I might just empty the trash here. Sorry, folks. This is highly unusual to do in a stream. Empty the trash. I'm emptying the trash. What was I saying? Oh, yeah. I've managed to achieve greater results on DLive than I have been able to on YouTube only. Now, YouTube has been great to me. Don't get me wrong. YouTube's been great. DLive has been better to me in terms of numbers, viewers, and finances than YouTube has been in the entire 4 years I've been on YouTube. That's not to say YouTube's going to go away. I've been very clear about that. I'm not leaving YouTube. But as nobody on YouTube, as a complete nothing here on YouTube, it pleases me that there are other platforms where I can go and create something, and as long as you put the workload in, because I've done daily on DLive, so I've slogged it out, right? I've done the hard work, and I'm getting the reward from it. Whereas on YouTube, I feel like I've done the hard work and some, and I've got no reward from it. In fact, as we've seen on my channel, I get squashed. I get pushed further. The more content I create, the further I get pushed lower. It's weird. Like, you look at my Jack Daniels reviews, there's nobody doing Jack Daniels reviews such as mine. Nobody's taking glasses and ice into the great Aussie outdoors or into the outdoors, into the wilderness, and comparing different versions of Jack Daniels flavors and making a beautiful structured content. There's dudes sitting in their own living room with shitty audio, with no lights, talking about a drink and then sculling it, right? Necking the whole bottle. And they get thousands and thousands and thousands of views. And me, a genuine Jack Daniels reviewer, a couple hundred views. It's like, I don't understand it. Don't understand it. But that's not what we're talking about here on the stream, although I will talk about that if the conversation does slide its way in there. I'm just thankful. And someone's, Music Man yesterday on DLive said, have you heard of Theta.tv? Yes, I have heard of Theta.tv. Theta.tv is a live streaming platform built on a BitTorrent. Not BitTorrent, built on a torrent, built on a blockchain, not the BitTorrent blockchain, that's DLive. It's very similar to DLive. So similar, in fact, that about 10 months ago, DLive teamed up with the Theta network. Now, I'm not so sure what that team up eventuated in, but there was a community announcement, we're teaming up with Theta, and then I think the teams went separate ways. Either way, what that does tell me is that it's rad that there are other places for creators to dip their toes in. You know, there's Mixer, there's Twitch. Not that I'm going to go to these places, but it's important to know that they are there, just in case whatever you're doing doesn't quite work for you, for whatever the reason. Now, as Mindy said, as you guys know, I'm not really interested in subs. I really like the community. Well, I would pitch that the community on DLive is more engaging than the community on YouTube because it's a smaller community, because it's a tighter knit community. Now, that might not always be the case. It may grow to the point where it's a rival to YouTube or a rival to Twitch or a rival to Mixer, and therefore we don't have the one-on-one connectivity, the kind of connectivity I have with the crew at DLive, right? I'm very lucky, very fortunate to have that. It might not always be that way, and it certainly wouldn't be that way outside of DLive. If I went to Twitch, you think I'd have the CEO of Twitch coming into my streams? I doubt it, right? But the beauty of DLive and the beauty of when we came there is that we had the chance to build something, and that's what I love about it. Like I said in this opening monologue, I would rather that happened on YouTube. It doesn't though. YouTube will promote the Logan Pauls, promote the Keemstars, promote the boxing shit. They'll give the guys that are already up there more and more and more and more and more. They won't give to the ones that have nothing. Unfortunately, we know that. So I'm not leaving YouTube. Again, I want to be super clear about that, but that's my thoughts on it. And I'm very lucky. I'm very, very, very lucky. I'm very lucky to see the givers from YouTube also over on DLive and vice versa. I love the crossover. You know how much flack I got for going to DLive at the start? You know what the guys were saying about DLive. It's a scam. Oh, Bannon must do this and that. He can't. How can he make any money from that? What a scam. It's the biggest scam ever. I got so much flack from friends for going to DLive. What do I say to those friends now? Nice of you guys to come over and try it too and fail. And so Happy Canadian says it'd be awesome to connect with local creators. I mean, yeah, local creators. So then Mindy started talking about Jeffrey's family. Do they have to homeschool? It was Emily's birthday yesterday. Well, happy birthday, Emily, for yesterday. Back up in the chat. Just getting up there. Abigail is 8 and Emily is 7. Dude, hectic ages for kids, right? Shit. Mindy just got a new summer t-shirt that breathes real nice from under Under Armour, very thin and UV safe. I'm hiking in August. I'm hiking in Utah in Zion. Wow, cool. And speaking of t-shirts, now that I've got more time up my sleeve, we're going to be working on the new merch line, including the awesome graphic from the cap, right? You've seen this graphic that he created. Oh, wow. I can't wait to get that on. I want that on a blue shirt with a black logo for me. It's going to look tits. I can't wait. Happy Canadian, Under Armour make great stuff. Perd Beer up in the chit chat. G'day, Perdski. How do you do? And now I'm getting to the bottom of the chat, folks. You know when I do a live stream, I want to engage the whole chat. Now, I do waffle a little. I do talk a little. Not going to lie. But I like to engage the entire chat. I see Wesley Schutner. Wesley Schultner. Hello, Wesley. This cheers is for you, my friend. Nice to see you. Nice to have you. Nice to know you. Good to have you. Hamish up in the chat. Hamish Ferguson. Hello, Hamish. How you going, man? Mindy, why POV only? So we watched this video. It's a New Zealand creator. He has less than 1,000 subscribers. So under 1,000 subs. He put up a video called surfing left-hand point break some beach location. The equivalent would be surfing Northern Point Culburra Beach left-hand break dash POV. Now, literally the entire video, it goes for about 8 minutes. The entire video is him getting out of his truck and all of it shot like this from this angel. No talking. Shot of getting the board out of the car, walking to the beach, leg rope on, board up, into the water, paddle out. No talking. No talking. Just the sound of the POV and every now and then a little bit of text on the screen, paddling out, looking for a wave, catching a wave. 20,000 views. 20,000 views on a video that would have taken him literally, well, the whole surf and the edit, probably the edit would have been 10 minutes maximum, right? 10-minute maximum edit. Whereas I spend the entire surf, I take 2 GoPros out with me, I have a beach camera, I have a drone. I spend the next 4 hours editing it down into a succinct little package with different cuts, add music to it, a couple of hundred views per video. This guy has, let me tell you the numbers again. He's less than 1,000 subscribers. So less than 1,000 people get notifications for that video, yet 20,000 people saw the video. So what does that tell you? YouTube puts that video in front of more eyes than actually know about his channel. Now, I've got 20-odd thousand subscribers on my channel. When I put up a video, I get maybe 20 or 30, maybe 200 views. So what does that tell you? That tells you that YouTube does not show that video to even hardly any of my subscribers, and certainly not to anybody that isn't subscribed. So it's not getting put in anyone's recommended. It's not getting put anywhere. It's getting suppressed. So you have to ask yourself, why am I spending all the time and all the effort at the sacrifice of other things? Because don't forget, when I do a wave a day, there is no time for anything else. Absolutely no time for nothing else. So I was thinking, for a month, why not just try? Can't hurt to try, right? Do literally one camera, POV, no talking, no music for the whole month. Same concept, and just see what happens. I mean, what did Einstein say or something? The definition of being an idiot, or the definition of being a fool, would be to do the same thing. Not the definition of being a fool is not doing the same thing over and over again. It's doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. That's the key here. I can't continue to do the same thing and think that things will change, because they're not going to change. That's 7 seasons in, and my videos get like a couple of hundred views. So I need to change what I do to change the outcome. And I think maybe, that might not work as well. Who knows? I'm willing to give it a shot though. Then I was thinking maybe another Wave a Day series could literally be just drone footage. I don't know. Tim up in the chit chat. Tim Araskog. Hello, Timski. How do you do, my friend? Good morning. Shyla Rose. Speaking of D-Live, I know, Shyla. I know you're here from the beginning on YouTube, but whenever I see you, I just think of D-Live. I think you're the D-Live. I mean, just because you were there at the start with me as well. Let me ask you something, Shyla. What was it about when I pitched the idea that I was going to D Live, and it was a weird place at first, right? A lot of people were like, "Oh, what a shitty what a crazy looking website. What are these lemons?" What was it about when you came over that you thought, "No, no, no, I'll stick this out with Gibbs. I'll check this out." What was the thing about D Live that made you say, "Yeah, I'm in on that as well. As a viewer, I'm going to go across there"? Because you could have said, "Thanks, man, but I'll stick with your YouTube content. You can do your D Live, but I'll stick with your YouTube only." Because a lot of people did that. In fact, Tim did that pretty hardcore. Tim made a point. I'm not going over to D Live because I haven't got an iPad that works, or whatever it was. So what was it about D Live that you thought, yeah, I'll go across there? By the way, I've got sand in my mouth now because there's sand on here. Should wash that shit down. Can I swear already on my... I can swear. I'm 30 minutes in. CL Furlong in the chit chat. CL Furlong, how do you do, man? I know I'm slow on the chat, but I'm getting there. I got the original Mavic Air. It's a great to take on a trail bag on my trail runs. Hell yeah, CL. Dude. Hell yeah. And yo, the Woozle effect. The Woozle effect. I love your avatar, man. The W and the E. It looks like General Electric. How you going, Woozle? Nice to see you. Nice to have you. Nice to know you. This cheers is for you, my friend. No notifications for stories, okay? No notifications, but stories are built into the UI and come up in various places. Huh, Perdbeer, on my channel or on any channel? Where are you seeing notifications? On the sidebars or in the recommended? Wow, dude, that's pretty cool. Tim, Jeff, can Canada apologize on behalf of the USA for Trump, or is that asking too much? Political. Ooh, want to get political, huh? Okay. The Woozle effect. I wonder how you might do on Mixer. There's not a lot of content like yours there. I've been having a blast with music on Mixer. The more platforms, the better, in my opinion. Woozle, I completely 100% agree with you. I'm not ruling out Mixer. I'm not ruling out Twitch. I'm not ruling out Theta. I'm not ruling out DTube. I'm not ruling out Storyfire. I'm not ruling any of these out. What I am saying, though, is I physically don't have the time to go over there and build something. Until D-Live completely folds, right? And I'm not suggesting it's going to. I'm not saying I've got information or anything. I'm just saying, if that happens, then I will reassess. But for the time being, I am so thrilled with what's happening to me on D-Live and Gives a Minute that I'm not changing that. I love what I've got there. I love the people around me. Aside from some of the issues which we've dealt with, I love the place. I don't have the time to dedicate what you would need to dedicate to get that somewhere else, including YouTube, because YouTube's not going anywhere. I'm got to say that clearly. I'm not leaving YouTube. But if I did take up Mixer or Twitch or whatever it was, I would have to go hardcore into it like I've done with D-Live. And I physically cannot do that. I cannot. I have no time. I'd love to, though. I blame Germany. Are you guys talking about Canada? Politics. Bogan Jack Daniels reviewers get all the views. Yeah, it's weird. It's weird, isn't it? Like I don't know what to say. I honestly don't know what to say. Now, if I could get on board with Jack Daniels, the discussion we had yesterday on the D-Live stream, and Jack Daniels tweeted out my content, that might trip the algorithm because all of a sudden my videos are getting literally put in front of the Jack Daniels USA Twitter feed, for instance. That's got a couple of million viewers, right? So that might trip the internal algorithm. YouTube aren't doing it, but if someone else did it, well, yay. But until I can make that connection... By the way, I did what I said I would do. I put up that link this morning, and I'm not sure. Must be about 6 p.m. now in Tennessee, so 6 p.m. on a Friday, so that's perfect drinking time. Oh, did you see Gives a Minute put up a new video? I'll like that. That's what I'm hoping for. We'll see. The Woozle Effect. Hi, Charlotte Rose. D-Live is an amazing platform. Happy Canadian. Yeah, it is. Or the CEO donating to you on Twitch? I think not. I don't even know who the CEO is on Twitch, but I definitely think they would not be donating to me for sure. Could you imagine if Susan Wojcicki came in here and dropped a super chat? I would literally fall off my seat. First of all, I'd fall off once because she's watching the content. Second of all, I'd fall off twice because she's donating to me. That would be perplexing, right? Very perplexing. Have you finished The Gentleman Jack yet, Jeff? Not yet. Oh shit, man, that doesn't last long for me. But I finished mine the weekend I got it. Charlotte Rose, I want to try the Apple one, but I don't think it will ever be available here. I've heard through the grapevine that the Apple is coming to Australia. I would hold off on buying one from a collector or from an importer because they're charging a ridiculous amount. I've seen $180 a bottle. Now that retails for like £17 in the UK. So that's about 35 Australian dollars. And I've seen Australian sellers $180 a bottle plus shipping. So I'd be holding off on the Apple one. If it gets a local release, you'll kick yourself. So this is Charlotte Rose answering the question I asked about. Hang on, before that, Perd Beer. I like the multicam and I think people respect the effort you put in. Thanks, Perd Beer. Thank you. And I got big plans for that as well. Big plans for more cameras and different things, which it's coming. It's coming. By the way, I hate talking about money and about timing, but I wanted this new stuff to roll out before July, which is live every day on YouTube for the month of July, thanks to Danny Black, his creation. I'm going to credit him every time as well, by the way. Even though the guy hates me, I'm going to still credit him. It's his idea, his concept, even though he hasn't done it for 2 years. The thing with... I didn't know this. I've never been paid from YouTube. Sorry. The only times I've ever been paid out through YouTube was when I was with an MCN, and they paid me through YouTube after they took my cut. So now I've been without an MCN for 2.5 years. And so now I'm being paid directly from YouTube. I never understood that there was a delay in the payment. So it looks like it's going to be the end of the month until I get paid, which is not too bad. But in an ideal world, I would have already had the money and I could buy the things that I need for certain other things to happen. But now it's going to be a little delay. There's always delays. You know the deal. Just, accept that I'm a delayed guy. So Charlotte Rose answering the question about DLive. I love the whole being able to listen to copyrighted music, and it's way more laid back over there. The community that has been built on the Gives a Minute DLive stream. Yeah, love, love, love. Let me just address that issue about copyrighted content. And this is how it's always been. I think that there might be a misconception. A lot of people over there not really getting it. At the moment, DLive receive a DMCA request from anybody, whoever that is. Could be one of the big record labels, could be a conglomerate of record labels, could be YouTube content creator, could be anybody that they instigate a DMCA, a takedown. At that point, DLive have to legally act, and the legal action would be to get the creator to remove the content and not create the content again. And there'd obviously be a change in community guidelines in terms of service at that point. Now, DLive is kind of lucky that we haven't ever had that yet because of the size, but that could come. That could come, right? There could come a point where it's like, you cannot play the cap game anymore, but I've got a plan if that does happen, how we get around it. The cap game is about music. It doesn't always have to be commercially available music, and there's plenty of music out there that involves friends and local bands. So that's how we do that. But for the time being, it is a very, very cool place to be able to engage an audience and not have to worry. Like right now, I've got content we're going to look at here on this stream, and I've already vetted it. I've already checked that we're okay to play this. Whereas on DLive, I'd take requests and we'd go ahead and look at things with no conscious decision. It's like, yeah, we'll just watch that and see. As long as we're transformative, we're not broadcasting in full screen and walking away. We're critiquing and commenting, which is important. That's very important when you deliver content. You've got to transform it. Same on DLive, you know. Woozle Effect. I love DLive because they supported me right from the start. My first stream was lit. Well, you got something I never got then, Woozle Effect. My first 3 streams were not lit. They were actually underlit. They weren't even smoldering. My first 3 streams were way, way, way dismal. I remember sitting here in this exact spot, looking at my camera, this exact same camera, thinking and saying to the audience, well, isn't this lovely? I'm streaming on DLive. I'm not sure why I'm here. I'm not sure what I'm going to do here. There's nobody here anyway, so let's just have a chat to the camera. And I was sitting here chin wagging. And for 3 days, my account my viewer count remained on 0. Nobody came in. And then one person came in on the 3rd day. And I was like, oh, wow, now I've got an audience. It was a person called Blackened or Blackie or Blackard or something like that. Not Blackheart Go, sort of similar, Blackend. And I was like, oh, hello, Blackend. How do you do? And then we had a bit of a chat. And then pretty much almost the same time, Shyla Rose turned up. I'm here too. I was like, well, now we're talking. And then the next thing you know, I haven't shut up for a year and a half. Not quite a year and a half now. Mindy, I enjoy your live streams no matter where they are. That's why I came across. Thank you, Mindy. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Mindy, you've been a long-term supporter in many, many, many ways. And I don't want to talk whatever, thank you so much. I like how polite most of the live streamers are on DLive. The content creators, for sure. On the flip side of that, though, there has to be said, bit of a cesspool in terms of troll action. I'm not going to deny that, right? That kind of trolling, we don't get that here on YouTube. We get it to the nth degree. To the nth degree, right? On DLive, no denying that. It's kind of a shame. I love your banter, man. I'm well. Thank you, CL Furlong. You really feel like a part of things over there on DLive. That's it. You do, Charlotte. You do. You feel like you're a part of something. Perd Beer. I use the Android app and stories are promoted throughout the app. And you have been heavily promoted in what I get served. Really? Holy shit, Perd Beer. Huh. Hashtag get Bannon sponsored by Jack Daniels. $40 in Canada. Yeah, for that bottle. I'm definitely a sucker for multicam. Woozle effect. If you want to use a multicam setup, I got a tip for you. ATEM Mini. ATEM. ATEM. Just get one. Don't get the Pro. Just get the ATEM Mini. Google it. It's cheap. It's beautiful. 4 HDMI inputs. A multicam switcher. It's going to kill all of your cam links. It's going to kill all of your HDMI inputs. All of your HDMI to USB like I've got here for this camera. ATEM Mini. Holy shit. I'm getting one for what I need. We'll get there. The next step is DLive viewer controlled multicam. We need to get Tidy to support commands that trigger OBS scenes. I mean, that's definitely a possibility because you think about OBS scenes, you can hotkey them, right? So therefore it's commanded to your OS and you set that up in your OS. You could definitely do that. Tetris Freak up in the chit chat. Hi Tetris, how do you do, man? At some point, DLive will have to come into greater compliance. Sure. Mindy's channel, Jack Apple is only $27 here. See, there you go. A bottle of that sent to Australia, you'd be looking at about $60, whereas Australian sellers will double that and double it and more, just because it's a heavily sought after item at this point. Got sand in my mouth, folks. There are definitely some troll creators on DLive. They just don't get my views. Troll creators? Are they creating content though, or are they just trolling for the sake of it? Not the ATIV, ATEM, ATEM, ATEM Mini. Some trolls are out though this morning. If you count the ups and downs, why do they even bother? Oh, here on YouTube, I don't even look at that. I don't even look at that. Like, and you know, it's a funny thing, right? When there's a downvote, and we know this from YouTube, that's actually a positive thing. It's engagement. So I'd suggest everybody up or downvote this. I don't care whether it's up or down, to be completely frank. It's engagement that we're after. It's a click on the screen. Love it. I don't even see it, Charlotte. I'll tell you what I don't do, though. I don't disable the likes or the comments, because that just tells you how negative you think your audience is. A10 Mini, got it. Yeah, that's the one. And don't worry about the Pro. The Pro, not so important, but the A10 Mini, the Pro is the same as the Mini, but it gives you the feature of being able to stream direct from the device. I mean, we're all streaming through OBS, so we don't need that, right? It's also got multicam, it's got multi-view on the screen, but you don't need that. Anyway. Folks, well, that's the bottom of the chat, so I'll put that on the screen for all of us to engage with. No Pro, Wilco. Yeah, exactly. Woozle effect. And that's what I'll be getting for this stream at some point, where I'm going to be using, where we're going to have interviews, and that's how we're going to roll with that. I've got big plans, but like I said, the payment is it's going to take longer than I thought it would to come through. But folks, I want to take a quick break here, go and have a slash. When we come back, I want to show you some surfing, some raw surfing content, and then we'll dump into the conversation about Starlink and about upload speeds. But to get us there, I want to tell you about a band that's related to me. However, this is the YouTube version.
Welcome back to the Slightly Random Daily Song! Silver Sun Pickups. You see this? This band. I discovered this band way back in the MySpace era. Now that would put it, I'm gonna say 2003, maybe 2004 or 2002. Let's just say somewhere between 2002 and 2005, in that era. I was on MySpace and they used to promote bands, upcoming bands. And this band, Silver Sun Pickups, they had an EP called Pickle or Pickle. And it was getting banner advertising on the top. And so I'd always play this one song, Kissing Families. I think there were 3 songs that were getting rotation on MySpace when you click that banner. But the Kissing Families song, the one I want to play for you here today, was definitely the one that stood out for me. Kind of had this beautiful bass. It's kind of got a beautiful organ sound. It's got a beautiful female vocal, a beautiful male vocal, a beautiful guitar. The whole thing was just blew me away. And the band at that time, they were not, they must have been something to be getting promoted on MySpace, but definitely in Australia they were nothing. And I was actually chatting with the guitarist through MySpace. I just kind of said, "Oh dude, I discovered you here and I'm liking what I'm hearing." The conversation was pretty free-flowing and he said, "Man, if we ever come out to Australia, I'll buy you a beer." I was like, "Dude, if you ever come out to Australia and do a show, I'll come to the show." And he said, "I'll get you a beer." And I guess the long story short is they skyrocketed. I think Triple J picked them up. Triple J, the nationwide youth radio station in this country, I think they picked them up. And they did come out to Australia and they played a show at the Annandale Hotel, which I went to with my friend Aid. And it was completely sold out. Like, it was way oversold. Like, so whatever happened in, I guess, the space of about 12 months, whatever they did with that EP, the Pickle EP, or Pickle, I don't even know how it's said, skyrocketed them into stardom. And I think they did 2 shows at the Annandale, and of course, there's no chance that I was hanging out with the band at that point. They were on their way. So I want to play you Kissing Families, the first song I ever heard from Silver Sun Pickups. See what you think. Now, there's going to be a good angel here to put you down and get a good vision of the ocean here. Let's put you down here, huh? Put you down here like this. That's too much of a slope there on the angel. Let's go about there like that. Is that going to sit still? That's going to be good, isn't it? I reckon that's a pretty good angel for you. Enjoy the Silver Sun Pickups from the Pickle/Pickle EP with Kissing Families. Oh, there you go, folks. Silver Sun pickups with kissing families from the Pickle/Peakle EP. If you know how to pronounce this, let me know. Is it Pickle or Pickle? Is it EP or is it EP? I know it's not EP. I'm being silly. Great sound, right? Great band, great sound. I also understand they went on to feature in one of the Guitar Hero games, and that's how they sort of took themselves already from being quite large to being massive. So much so that the next time that they toured Australia, I was living in Adelaide, South Australia, and they were playing sold out shows at the Thebby. So things changed very, very rapidly for the band. Great sound though, I highly recommend you take a listen. And now while I sit down and listen to the entirety of the EP, you guys can go back to the live stream.
Oh shit! Sorry folks, I was well, I was waiting for you, but then I got carried away and I had a look at my coffee. This has got chocolate in it. Smell that. Yeah? Yeah, this definitely, this is a weird one. This is a pod coffee, and I think the pod there's definitely chocolate in there. Back up in the chit chat, talking about the trolls. If they don't appear in the chat, they must already be banned. So I don't ban anybody on YouTube. Or sorry, I have banned people in the past, but I haven't done it in so long. Back in the Scooter Brad era is when I would ban people, but I haven't done it in so long, so I'm not sure how that works. Like, I know on DLive you can type @ and then it'll bring up a list of everybody who's in the chat at the time, but I don't know if that works on YouTube. Perdbeer, I usually forget, but I thumbed you up. Thank you. Your t-shirts always look fresh, like they're brand new. I mean, yeah, they probably are brand new, right? I've got so many t-shirts that it takes a good 3 years to get through the system, and then it's only worn for a week, and then it gets washed and put on the bottom of the rack. So technically, that Silver Sun pickup shirt, I bought that during their tour, and I've probably worn it thrice in total since 2004. No, that's not true. That shirt was bought at the Thebby show, which was 2011. So I've worn that shirt about 3 times since 2011. YouTube police, yeah. I mean, the YouTube police. It's a shame that we got to do that, but I can't play kissing families for you on YouTube. I can tell you how rad it is. Isn't that weird? I can say, hey guys, why don't you go to Spotify and type in Kissing Families from Silver Sun Pickups? You're going to love it. I can tell you to do that, and I can recommend it. But if I play you a clip of it, it gets claimed. It's like, I'm doing you a fucking service here. I'm selling your music. I'm telling people to go and buy your music. And you want to charge me for that? It's a very, very strange system that we have here on YouTube. He trolled us again. Hope it doesn't have a nutty flavor. Silver Sun Pickups. Pickle? Is that what pickle means? Pickle? I'm drinking a Liddell Stream Brew Session IPA. It's really good. Steam Brew Session IPA. Well, Perd Beer. That sounds lovely. Folks, let's go across here. I want to continue the surfing content in the sense that what you're about to see is the last time I've been surfing. And by the way, I ran out during that pre-roll, and there is heaps of dudes out, and I am so jealous. The sun's out, it's kind of warm. I wasn't cold out there, just in this shirt. I was like, should I go for a wave today? And then I touched my ribs and I thought, they're not quite healed yet. Oh, definitely not. I'm not going to go out, but I was very jealous. I'm going to have to get drunk instead, I think. Can't be sitting on the beach watching surfing, and maybe I'll get drunk. Either way, I got a coffee here, but what I want to show you is the last time I did surf with Sam. Let's go across to here. So this is literally full screen. This is just the beach camera footage, but I've clipped it together. It goes for 1:31. We'll talk about it as we go. I believe the first one up is Sam. Now that's me on the right, and that's Sam on the left, I think. Let's see. Oh, that's right. Forgot about these kids. I don't know who they are. They're just randoms, right? Randoms. So yeah, this is Sam here. Now Sam, did you see that little cutback Sam had then? Where's Sam's got this little and this is the beauty of surfing with Sam. We're kind of, I think he's more advanced than I am. I think he's a little bit more ahead, but because he has a short board, a performance board, he can throw that thing around willy-nilly, whereas my board's a little bit more hard to maneuver. Watch this kind of like left cutback Sam does. I can't do that yet, and I think my board's holding me back. I mean, that's not great, but that's better than what I can do. Now, this is me up here, I believe. Yeah, this is me. See, I needed to get further along that wave. And arguably, I'm in a good position right there, but then I should have stayed that line. Because if I stayed that line, where's my mouse? If I stayed that line instead of carving down, I technically could have maybe got under this lip and then hit this section. Nah, it all happened too quick. Who's this? That's Sam. Yeah, and see, Sam attacks things different to me. Like he will carve from the bottom directly back up, whereas I'll do like a skateboarder's carve. I'll do like a big sweeping bottom hand turn because I feel like I'm skating. But Sam will snappity snap it. Look at this. Bam, snap to the top. This is me, I think. Yeah, this is me. I mean, not much going on there. Arguably, I could have maybe... That's a good position. Yeah, I'm happy with that wave. That was pretty cool. Sam? Yeah, see Sam trying to tuck into the barrel there? Look at that. That's pretty rad. So he's gone. You can see he wants the barrel because the way he's standing, it's crouched up like that, and he's like, "Yeah, if it's a small wave. I've got to stay low in case it barrels." And look at that! Look at that! He's got his arm down. He's got his arm down like that, and he's like, "Just stay low, stay low." He's hoping. It's almost praying at that point. And the wave kind of went to do it. Yeah, I mean that's a close over, surely. Look, that's closed right over him. And it all goes dark. Who is Sam, Perdbeer? Sam is a gentleman that I saw in the ocean. I think it was day... I'm going to say day maybe 4 of the season. And he just turned up and I said to him, I just said a few friendly hellos. And then the next day I saw him again and the day after and I was like, "Oh, you're surfing every day?" And he's like, "Yeah, what about you, man?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I got this project for YouTube." He's like, "Oh, I'm living in the caravan park. We got stuck here due to COVID-19." And then we just got a friendship. And we surfed pretty much every day together until he got injured. And now he's left, but him and his fiance come over on Monday and we boozed up on the last day. Good fun. And he's a good surfer too. This is Sam going left. See that cutback? Man, I want to do that stuff. Look at that. Throwing that board around. Hell yeah. Check it out. What a rad surfer. Throw that board around. That's myself. Again, I mean, you couldn't really do much on this wave, right? Like, arguably, I needed to take off kind of where this guy is, and I'm too deep here. Not much happening on that wave, unfortunately. Yeah, that's a shame. I did get a longer wave. I think this is my longest wave. Oh, no, that's Sam. Straight up to the top, Sam. Look at that. I got to do that stuff. Look at his body positioning. Dude, he's up there. That's rad. Look at the angle he's got. Hell yeah. That's sick. That's points if you're in a competition, which we're not, but just trying to look at it like we are. Snap it up. Hell yeah, Sam. Now this is probably my longest wave from memory. Unfortunately, the wave kind of tapers off, but you see that last turn I do, that last big carving sweep. That's straight out of skateboarding. That's me as I got to change that style. That's too skateboardish. So I get up, and arguably I take my time getting up too. Get up quicker here. Yeah, that's too slow. Should have snapped up. But then watch this coming up this turn here. That's just a big skateboard turn. I gotta change that shizzle. Look how excited I was. Oh, this is Sam taking on a mama. That's a big mama. Do you see how big that was? Look at the white water behind him. Look at the wall of white water. Bang! That's a big mama for Sam. Unfortunately, it's a closeout. Look, he got that in a good position too. Look at that. But he went straight down and... I mean, that's over his head. Bang! Closeout city. Oh, this is my last wave, I think. Similar wave, but no action. Just get it out of there. And there you go, folks. That's the action from the last time I've been surfing. So I don't know when I'll get out there again. Like I said, I'd like to be out there today, but I don't think I should. I don't think I will, even though... I mean, it's only hurting when I push it, right? If I touch it, it hurts. I don't know. Per beer, it's Liddell home brand. 50 cent for a 5 litre, a point... For a 0.5 for half a liter can, they do craft beers. Yeah, I remember the 50 euro cent beers in Germany. Folks, let's move into the content here. We want to talk a little about Starlink internet. Now, for those that don't know, Starlink internet is satellite-based broadband, global broadband. Now, what does that mean exactly? Right now, you get your internet through a land-based service. The land-based service typically goes underneath the sea in a cable, a fiber optic cable from potentially the mainland America. In the case of Australia, we've got a couple of different optical cables coming in, one on the west coast. I think there's 2 or 3 on the east coast. Basically, that's how we get our internet to Australia, through a massive fiber optic cable that's laying on the seabed. Elon Musk, in all of his genius, has decided to implement a series of satellites. I think 1,200 is the... 4,200 is the amount of satellites he wants to put into what they call low orbit. So not quite way out in space, but within the Earth's orbit, if you like. You're saying Liddell wrong. Sorry. I also say Peppy, not Pepsi, and I say Angel, not Angle. Sorry. I don't even know how it's said, by the way, per beer. So this is the concept, and the idea is that wherever you are on planet Earth, on this big flat disk, you'll be able to triangulate to a satellite and therefore receive, theoretically, the same internet speeds wherever you are, which to me screams at the IRL streaming, right? This screams at IRL content creators. Dude, what's the one thing holding IRL streamers back? Ubiquitous Wi-Fi available everywhere, which we know there isn't. And now I'm struggling to maintain a 4G signal wherever I go using a combination of 2 cellular services plus the LiveU Solo and a bonding service, paying a fair amount of cash for that, but that's how we've got to do it at this current point in history. The question I've got towards Elon Musk and his Starlink service is, what is the upload speed? Now, they're all talking about gigabit download speeds. They never mention upload. They do mention latency. I've heard of a ping, which is the time it takes to send the signal and receive it. They call that a ping. It's measured in milliseconds. Just for comparison's sake, I'm usually at a ping of between 25 to 35 milliseconds. I've heard less than a 10 millisecond or under ping for Starlink, which is pretty rad. And I've heard gigabit downloads, which would be anything between, theoretically, 500 megabytes a second to 1,000. Technically. That's the technical definition will be 1,024. But anywhere between those two. Now, how that relates to upload speed, and if your bandwidth is all consumed with download, so if you're getting 900 megabytes a second down out of your theoretical gigabit, that means you've technically got 100 left over for upload, but no one's talking about that. It's hard to type. Say Liddell. Little. I say Liddell. So Pobier says, I would love to see him destroy the Oz telcos, but the upload will be a problem. So let's go across here and have a look at this Reddit thread that I've discovered. We got a couple of different things to read here, but the first discussion is from an Aussie guy, oddly enough, a guy by the name of Arnav. This gentleman here, Arnav. Is that big enough for you? Let's make it a little larger. That's probably as large as... Yeah. So he says, hi everyone, I'm doing a research task on Starlink for a school project. I found out that the speed for Starlink is 610 megabits, I think he meant megabytes, per second. Is that the standard speed for everyone, or is that the total bandwidth? Now he has provided a link here. The link was to this website, which doesn't tell us much. And also it's from November last year. So I would regard this with as least confirmation as possible. I'd regard this as early news. In fact, I don't even really want to read this. However, the comment section is what was interesting to me. And these comments are also sort of quite old, 7 months ago. And a lot of these comments are mirrored in the initial Reddit thread. So let's just stick with the Reddit thread and we'll go with that. But then we will watch a link from Elon. This is a link that he's posted or that someone's posted with him that we want to engage in. So he's edited his initial post. Thanks everyone for the answers. From what I've read, there is no real answer for my question. So his question, will the total bandwidth be 610 or half of gigabit? Will it be less than the gigabit speed? Technically, it's possible the US military do it for their soldiers in the field. So he says, I will assume that Starlink offers everyone 50 megabits 50 megabits a second internet, standard internet speed provided by Telstra in Australia. So this is an Aussie guy. And that each satellite can have a bandwidth of 20 gigabits per second. From this, I'm estimating that 16 million people have... So I don't know where he's got these numbers from, but he's gone ahead and put that in. Everyone's commenting on it, replying with what they believe. As far as I remember, the 610 was achieved by one USAF plane while flying, so an individual ground station could achieve even higher speed given its stationary position and assuming no crowding. Now, again, there's terms in here that are very concerning to me. Why would it need to be stationary? If we're talking... So, I've heard people talk about this saying, oh, you know, you're going to have like a big array on your house to use it, like a satellite receiver. I'm like... And what's wrong with that? Like everywhere you have internet, you have some kind of receiver. So it could be a mobile broadband router, such as the Telstra Nighthawk M2, which I've just received, or the AC800 from Optus, or it could be your modem that sits in your doorway when you come in the home where the internet plugs into. You always have to have some kind of receiver. I don't see this as a problem. The problem I have with this is they're talking about needing to keep that stationary. Now, why would it need to be stationary if we're talking about satellites that are constantly moving? The satellite's constantly moving, so what's the difference if the base station's moving as well? They're locked on, right? And isn't the point of it that it's triangulated so that no matter where you go, you automatically skip to a different satellite to keep that connection? I'm again, Elon, Mr. Musk, if you happen to be watching this, these are questions that no one's really answered. And I've done a lot of research on this. No one's really answering that shit because I think no one's looking at this the way I'm looking at it, or no one's looking at using this the way I am in terms of live streaming from a moving vehicle from different parts of, in this instance, Australia. But once this is out and rolling, technically you could get on a plane and go to Chile and rent a vehicle and drive around Chile and do the exact same live stream using the exact same internet, right? That's the theory. Is that correct, Mr. Elon Musk, if you happen to be watching the replay? I thought that's what the concept was. Now, people are talking about it. No, it's so that you can watch Netflix from your grandma's house who hasn't got good internet. She lives in the sticks. Is that all it is? Because if that's all it is, We arguably can already do that with sketchy coverage from our shitty satellite services now. So what's going to be the difference between your satellites? Is it just that you're going to spread 42,000 of them up there and therefore more will be better? I don't know. I don't know. So Johnny says, also worth noting is that bandwidth needs to be consumed by all satellites in the path, not just the last mile. When you're from the northern Canada, for example, you would need to access a website hosted in Australia for your signal and packets to travel up and overhead flying satellite, then be relayed from satellite to satellite to the base station that is close to the hosting station in Australia. That makes sense. You might be consuming the traffic from 4 to 5 satellites. That's what I understood, yeah. That's exactly what I understood. That's how I thought satellites worked, and that's because the Earth's moving, right? The Earth is moving, the satellites are moving, and you are moving with that's unless I've understood this wrong, unless you're supposed to be stationary, and that's the only thing that you can do with this internet. You stay in the one spot and you consume it from multiple satellites. And Elon, again, I got questions for you, Mr. Musk. If that's the way this is going to roll, then it might not be suitable. And again, the title of this stream is the Starlink internet going to be suitable for uploading for YouTube or any platform streaming IRL? Is it going to be suitable? And if not, can you do another one called Upstar where it is? Please? Gives a star. And this is a question from Von Plinkplonk. Thanks for this, but one question. How does moving or not moving affect your bit rate? Is it a physical law or a practical thing? I mean, this is a great question. This is kind of what I have. This is the question I kind of have. But I thought that, Perdbeer, I recently downloaded a book on satellite comms. Maybe I can tell you in a few weeks. Is the download still happening? Is that why you can only tell me in a few weeks, or you got to read the book first? I'm just kidding with you, Perdbeer. So, good question. I did not think that moving the base station would have any difference on the receiving signal, because I thought that we were triangulating, locking on. I could have heard that wrong. Starlink satellites receive information from a gateway on the ground, yes. The maximum capacity of the uplink is approximately 20 gigabits. Not gigabit, 20 gigabit. This is how much information the satellite can deliver to its entire service area. The service area of one Starlink satellite will initially have a radius of 940 kilometers. This area is divided into cells, and each cell is served by one downlink beam. Again, no mention of uplink there, just the downlink. It's a heavy book. I think it will take a while. Okay, I understood. There's that word again, Marty. Why is everything... What? Is something wrong with the Earth's gravitational pull in the year 1955? 1985? I got the quote wrong. Forget about it. Back to the Future. Individual downlink beams have an order of 1 gigabits per second maximum capacity. This throughput will be shared between all users in a given cell. This guy sounds like he knows more than anybody else. Sounds very official. In some of the FCC filings, SpaceX assumes average bandwidth usage per user of around 1 megabit a second. The peak bandwidth per user can of course be much higher. As you mentioned, 610 has been demonstrated for 1. Okay. So I just want to skim through these because I want to get to the video as well. This Canadian says, honestly, if I get 10% of the speed, I'd be happy. Must be in a sketchy area. I thought Australia was the only place with shitty Wi-Fi, shitty internet. Packages will most likely be 25 to 50 down, and probably 1 to 10 up, with 100 millisecond round trip. I mean, that's bullshit, dude. Where did you get this information from? We've already heard that the ping is less than 10 milliseconds. So this link here, this was a month ago, and Elon is asked about bandwidth, but avoids giving an exact answer to bandwidth. This is the video that we've got Oh no, this is the video we got here. This video here. Yeah, we're going to watch that one in a second. So what we're seeing here is a lot of people speculating, a lot of people pushing a concept or an idea. Again, the reason I'm asking this is because we don't seem to have a very definitive answer. Potentially because the answer's not there yet, because it's not actually in existence yet, or it's in testing phase, right? I believe SpaceX crew or SpaceX staff get access to this first. So maybe once they've started using it, they can give us more definitive responses to these questions. Mindy says rural France has bad internet too, 4G only. I recall that actually from being over there with Tracer. I remember the internet was pretty sketchy in France. UK and France was pretty, outside of the major cities in the UK, it was shithouse. Oddly enough, the Netherlands had really good internet. I remember getting some of the fastest speeds I'd ever seen before. That was back in 2013. So this person says, do better research. That was a one demo test with the very first satellites in a moving environment. From that, SpaceX have said, we know that each array per satellite can run at greater than or equal to 10 gigabits a second. Okay. Surprised you got a downvote. This comment is factual and accurate. One of the few people who are aware of... Okay. Okay. Now, I'm just skimming through this, but I currently have internet from Viasat satellites and have a ping of 600 milliseconds. I mean, what the hell? I'm hoping Starlink will be better. Should be under 50. Well, we've heard under 10. So there you go. Let's have a look at this video here and see if we can learn anything more about this.
In May 2019, SpaceX launched the first 60 satellites of their hugely ambitious Starlink low Earth orbit constellation. These are followed in November by another 60 satellites, and they plan to launch another 60 around the end of the year.
This is just a sort of an introduction of what this situation is. Mindy says rural France and Perd, they make up for it with nice wine. True Perd. They do indeed.
Well, I don't know exactly how SpaceX plans to operate this constellation. We can gather quite a bit of information from their FCC filings and from public comments by Elon Musk and Gwynne Shotwell. In this video, I'm going to look at how such a constellation might work, given what we know at the moment. Bear in mind I don't have any inside information, so this is what they could do if they wanted to, but probably isn't what they'll actually do.
Covering all bases there.
One of the first Starlink satellites. Those grey panels are phased array antennas, and they allow the satellite to steer very narrow radio beams so it can communicate with many ground stations at the same time without needing to move a dish around as it passes by at 27,000 kilometers per hour.
So if the array itself is moving at 27,000 kilometers an hour, what difference does it make if we're moving as well? That's a question. One of many I've got.
Same principles used by modern Wi-Fi base stations, but while they use just a few antennas to focus power in the general direction of your phone, each of those grey panels consists of 100 or more small antennas. They can focus a radio beam only a couple of degrees wide. They can also steer a beam a long way to the side.
Look at this. This is the triangulation, right? So why, this is what I don't get. Why is this user terminal only here? Like if this satellite can beam in a distance, it can project its beam on an angel out that far, then theoretically the user can be anywhere within the bottom shape of the triangle, right? Anywhere along here. Am I not right there? Like, I don't get why this has to be fixed. Maybe I'm just an idiot.
To FCC filings, a ground station should be able to communicate with a satellite when it's only 25 degrees above the horizon. Okay, so what about the constellation itself? In November 2018, SpaceX revised their constellation plans, lowering the orbits of the first phase satellites to 5.
Maybe because of environmental interference. I mean, yeah, okay, that's a fair point, Perd. Fair point. Environmental interference, ups and downs, valleys, troughs, trees, waterfalls, landmarks, cities, buildings. Yeah, sure. Yeah, okay. Something I hadn't considered. Fair point. The line of sight is important. Okay. Yeah, fair call. By the way, when you look at that map or that globe, can't deny that round Earth. No, I wasn't going to say that. I was going to say there's been a lot of conversation in the last few weeks about these satellites interfering with astronomers' views of space. So, I mean, if you can gather that what you're seeing there, those little white dots that are moving around, are the satellites. Just thinking about it, and I don't care too much for this in the sense that it doesn't really faze me, but if you're looking out from Earth into the space, into the galaxy, and every 10 minutes there's one of those things coming in your view, it's the equivalent of me with my beach camera on the sand and watching as a whole family just walk right in front of it and set up for the day. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm out there surfing, I got my camera pointed at a break. I know that I got to stay on that sandbar because that's the angle of view that camera's got. And I look at a family, they're walking way down the beach, and I'm like, yeah, watch this. Okay, keep walking. Yeah. Hey, there's a great spot to set up. Why not set up right in front of my camera? You've got the whole fucking beach to choose from, and you happen to choose that spot. And I'm out there in the ocean going, oi, move! And they're all looking at the iPad going, it's an iPad. And then they sit in front of it. I'm like, I mean, people. On, like, does it? That's why I put a little note on the iPad saying, I think I told you this story, but I put a note there saying, this iPad is filming me surfing. So whenever you'd come up and look at the iPad, you'd see a note, and it was stuck there. It says, this iPad is filming me surfing. Please do either of two things. Filming me surfing for my YouTube channel, my YouTube vlog. I said, please do either of two things. One, do something vlog worthy, or two, or two, get out of the way. And I kid you not, I had a chick flash her tits and smile and wave and then get out of the way. Of course, that stuff couldn't go on YouTube, but I'm saying, do something vlog worthy and or get out of the way. Like, please don't set up there for the whole day. It makes no sense. You've got the whole beach, but of course everybody does. So when you see this map of these satellites, you can understand how astronomers are like, dude, you seriously going to put up an array of satellites that's going to come through every 10 minutes and go in front of our cameras? What are we going to do? How are we going to see the stars? It's like, I get that. Unfortunately, I don't really care. I'd rather have global Wi-Fi for everybody than worry about that. Stars are staying there. X-tag on. Not even X-tag on, right?
550 kilometers, and spreading the satellites into 24 orbital planes.
And also to present both sides of the equation. Not only did I see a beautiful set of boobs, but a dude also showed me his bottom, and I saw his anal cavity. So there's that as well. If you want to be equal here, I'm just saying. I saw both of them. I know which one I favor. None of them went onto the vlog though. Tim, you could have at least sent that footage privately to friends. Maybe I did, Tim. Maybe I did. Yeah.
With 66 satellites in each plane. Now, they've since revised those plans again, and I'll come back to that later. But for now, let's look at this constellation.
Who tag on?
SpaceX originally planned to use free space laser links between the satellites. The idea is that data goes up to a satellite using those radio beams, then hops satellite to satellite using lasers, and then down again using radio.
That sounds rad.
As the speed of light in a vacuum is about 50% faster than it is in glass, communications latency via Starlink would be significantly less than via optical fiber.
Did you see her flash while you were surfing? I didn't see anything at that point. No, I just saw people in front of the camera. I was like, yeah, here we go. You know what I do? When I'm out there waiting for a wave and I see a family walking along, I'm like, all right, here it's going to happen. You guys are going to enter the field of vision literally when the wave gets here, right? Hasn't been a set for a few minutes. Yep, here we go. This is like the satellites moving in front of the astronomer's tower. Yep. Here comes the wave, and they're right in the way. So if I get this wave now and it's the greatest wave ever, we won't get any footage of it. So invariably, I'll let them go past, sacrifice the wave, and then I take the next wave. I didn't even see it. I didn't even see it happening at the time. I never saw it. Unfair, Benon. But I'm serious. But maybe you can receive the male version, Tim.
The problem is that those laser links are pushing the state of the art, and satellites launched so far don't have any lasers. This has led to a lot of speculation that Starlink won't be any good for wide area communications, at least until lasers eventually get deployed. But I think that's wrong, and I'll show you why. Looking at this diagram again, if two places are far enough apart, but covered by the same satellite, it's actually faster to go via the satellite at the speed of light in a vacuum than it is to go via fibre at the speed of light in glass.
Upload it to Discord. I will
might...
not be publicizing that in a public forum. Thank you so much. Just in case. Either I know the guy eventually or the girl eventually. Let's hope it's the girl.
It'd still be possible to beat fibre by bouncing satellite to satellite via strategically placed ground stations. When I first looked at this constellation, I assumed SpaceX would spread out the early satellites, like this, to give good coverage. But then all the satellites from the first launch were sent to the same orbital plane. Here's what it looks like if you fill 6 orbital planes. You get these dense bands which give good coverage in a band around 50 degrees north, but intermittent coverage elsewhere. What you do get, though, is great overlap in the coverage between neighbouring satellites, like this. If a ground station has coverage at all, it can reach either 2 or 3 satellites pretty much all of the time. That's great for relaying data between satellites.
What an age we live in. Like, look what we're talking about here. Forget the numbers and the uploads and will it be suitable for this or that. Look what we're talking about. It's unbelievable where we've come as a human species, right? We're talking about, like, first of all, from a complete noob's point of view, I don't even know how these things stay in the same spot. And we're talking about putting them up there in orbit and they stay. Like, just the knowledge of being able to say, yeah, if we put that up there, it'll stay there and do this. Like, why will it? But I put a kite in the sky, the wind changes, the kite moves. How come these things stay? It's baffling, right? This stuff is way, way, way out of my league. I find that intriguing. I find it compelling. I also find it educational, and I find it overwhelming.
Let's run some simulations and see how this might work. Here we've got just 6 orbital planes deployed, and we're using the published SpaceX ground station locations, plus a few others I added. Even with relatively few satellites and ground stations, you can get from New York to Seattle quite a bit quicker than the current internet. In fact, latency is pretty similar to optical fibre stretched tight along the best path, which isn't really possible in reality due to things like mountains and right-of-way issues. Now, one thing to remember is that while the orbital planes more or less stay in the same place, the Earth rotates under them once a day.
Yeah.
This means that the paths used change over time, and so the best locations for ground stations also change. As more satellites are launched and more...
You see what this is showing me? This is the only time when I've seen this stuff that it's actually making sense. The base stations changing or the base stations moving with the Earth's rotation at the same time. This is the first time this has made sense to me. I can't believe how beautiful this English geezer, is English, right? The way he's talking. I can't believe how accurately and how perfectly he's explaining this to me. It's insane. Beautiful. Oh my goodness gracious me. I see that. Charlotte Rose. I see that super chat. There's always a delay on those,
steak?
But
Money's too tight for steak.
Steak?
Steak and Jack for dinner.
That's a $31 super chat. Charlotte Rose. You know what? Oh my goodness gracious. Thank you so much, Charlotte. Steak and Jack for dinner. That's really, really nice of you. Yes, and 5 more Cap Game songs tonight. All right, Charlotte, we'll have a long-form Cap Game for you tonight, for sure. Wow, that's really generous of you, Charlotte. Thank you so much. Steak and Jack for dinner tonight. Thank you. Can you link to this channel? I can do that for you, Perd Beer. I'll do that. Let me just get out of there for a second. I'll do this now for you. It's really beautiful the way he's presenting this. It could also be inaccurate information, but either way, I popped it in the chat now for you to have. If you wanted to watch it yourself.
Filled.
Go back over
does
here.
Coverage become more.
Did you see how he explained that? I want to go back and just see how this how this is worded again, because this is critical to me, right? I don't understand how the base station moving is a factor, but I kind of do now.
As more satellites are launched and more orbital planes are filled, not only does coverage become wider, but also the performance of these paths, relayed via the ground stations, also improves.
Hey, Jimbo! We're not talking about the flat Earth today, man, but you can have your beliefs. Know that you're wrong, but you can have them. But we're not talking about it today. Look at this. He came into the chat, Jimbo. CGI space fakery. Love it. Earth is flat. People buy. That's the equivalent of walking into a room going, I know everything. You know nothing. See ya. Dick.
The end-to-end latency decreases and becomes significantly less variable. With all 1,584 satellites in the first phase deployed, the latency between New York and Seattle beats fiber all the time. There is still some jitter, but it's only 1 or 2 milliseconds.
Was Jimbo joking?
The biggest improvement, though,
no idea who Jimbo
ground
is.
stations.
I gotta tell you though, folks, let me just bump out of that again quickly. I gotta tell you, last week's stream, when I made it very, very, very clear that if you believe in the flat Earth and you disbelieve that the launch from NASA and SpaceX, which recently happened, if you think that's all fake, I do not want to see comments in the stream, in the comments after the stream. I want you to be able to come on here with me with a face and have an interview. Do not put a comment. If you put a comment, I will not answer you unless you're willing to come on and have a discussion face to face, telling me that you think the entire launch was faked, even though thousands and thousands of civilians videoed it from their own backyards. You think they're all in on it. I don't care for your keyboard warrior crap. Do not put comments unless you're ballsy enough to come onto my stream and have a face-to-face discussion. Do you know what happened? Not a single comment on that live stream from last week. Not a single comment from a flat earther. But you know what did happen? They all went across to my other video, the 4-minute daily vlog, where we talked about it on the D-Live, and they all hammered that section. Not a single person had the balls, not a single Jimbo had the balls to come onto the channel face to face with an interview, front up and tell me their beliefs. All keyboard warrior wankers. Bus wankers! That's what they are, right? I put the call out extremely eloquently. Do not put a comment here. If you put a comment, I will just delete it or ignore it. Unless you want to come on here and say that you're willing to put your face and your name and your appearance behind your stupid beliefs, that's the only way we'll do it. And nobody did it. Unbelievable. I knew that would happen though, right? Because they're all fools.
This opens up an intriguing possibility. Starlink user terminals will also use phased array antennas. So
exactly, Tim. They're all faked. Exactly.
At a time. Can we use conveniently located user terminals for relays?
Don't be a Jimbo. Exactly.
They're off picked locations every 100 kilometers or so. Once SpaceX starts selling service, there should be hundreds of thousands of locations to choose from, and many will be idle at any time. As the Earth turns, you can see how the choice of best relay changes.
This is such a sick graphic. I love this.
Ground stations to choose from, you can roughly halve current internet latencies across the US. As more satellites are added, latency and jitter continue to improve. So, what's the downside? The red line shows the round-trip time using 10 dedicated ground stations. The blue line shows what happens when we use all these user terminals. There's a vertical line each time the route changes. Although latency is better, the best route changes much more often, in this case about every 5 seconds on average. Now, we could add even more user terminals to the pool we choose paths from, but there's very little improvement in latency, and the routes change even more frequently. Now,
maybe this is the source of your downvotes. I don't care. Like I said, let me be clear. I don't even see it as a downvote. I see it as an interacting vote. So thank you for the interaction.
Frequency bands than they use the terminals will. So if there's a ground station in a reasonable location...
These dicks donate to me on D-Live. They donate to me on D-Live. Did you get that? They donate financially to me to make their points. I mean, what more have I got to say?
It's better to use that rather than taking capacity away from other users. In the end, though, this is a trade-off between capacity and latency, which is a business decision. The first Starlink users will likely be in North America, where relays are pretty easy, but the satellites cover most of the world. Can we use relays to cross between continents? It turns out that crossing the Atlantic isn't too hard, so long as you cross fairly far north, near the northern end of the satellite orbits where coverage is much denser. You need relays in Newfoundland and Ireland, and a couple of ships. Now, ships aren't cheap, but they're a lot cheaper than rockets, so this is probably doable, and again gives latency that beats optical
What do you mean ships? Moving ships?
fiber. The Pacific is much larger than the Atlantic, but due to a quirk of geography, you can cross the northern Pacific without needing any ships. The path follows the Canadian and Alaskan coast, then hops along the Aleutian Islands, touches down on the tip of Kamchatka, then follows the Japanese islands.
And people pay to speak with a psychiatrist. How crazy is that? I mean, yeah, that's true. Very, very good point, Tim.
The relays I've chosen here are all located in towns or villages large enough to have a post office. Of course, if Kamchatka is out of bounds due to politics, then it looks like one ship would be needed. But again, this looks feasible. Okay, so I think I've shown it's feasible to provide wide area, low latency communication using ground relays. But
This is intriguing.
let's stress the routing computation somewhat. Here I'm showing the graph of connectivity that we need to constantly update and then find the lowest delay path through. My first solution of this took about 1.5 seconds to update all the distances, figure out which satellites are in range, and run the routing computation. But with a few devious tricks inspired by how game engines work, I got that down to around 60 milliseconds. It should be possible to do a route computation for the whole world in less than 300 milliseconds, which is probably fast enough.
Tim, let's face it,
See here
insanity
it's
is just a state of
generated,
mind.
Updated and animated in real time on my
Tim, are you got a joke book that you read these from?
laptop.
Like it.
The frame rate's not too bad. Presumably, though, SpaceX will eventually get laser links between the satellites working. When they do that, will any of this matter?
See, what I'm not seeing here is, don't these individual links also talk to each other? These satellites, they're all talking to amongst each other, right? Not just on their downlink, they're all talking to themselves.
Here we're looking at the path from Toronto to Miami. This path goes north-south, and the orientation of lasers I'm simulating is better optimized for east-west traffic. It turns out that for this particular path, sometimes the lasers work better, and sometimes they involve enough of a detour to one side, that it's actually shorter to go down than up via a relay instead. Here's another interesting path. This is London to Johannesburg. The current internet path is very long, as it follows the fibre off the West African coast. Crossing the Sahara poses a challenge here, as there are wide areas with no population at all. I've placed the relays here in towns that were large enough that I could identify a good-sized mosque on satellite images.
Let me just put this forward too. If this concept relies on stationary ground stations, what's to say Elon doesn't start deploying those as well? Like we need a station in the center of Africa, which is 2 kilometers high. I mean, it sounds far fetched, right? But he was going to bore tunnels underneath LA for transit. What's the difference between putting a tower that's there for this, and then you could put them in the ocean, right? Like an oiled rig or something.
These are exactly the sort of remote communities that Starlink could benefit. This is another north-south path where laser links are not very direct, and a ground relay path beats the lasers all of the time. But the best
A ground relay path. There it is.
Some combination of lasers and ground relays.
There you go.
The precise combination is constantly changing, but using a mixture of the two is always good and a lot better than latency than optical fibre. Now, I said at the start that SpaceX have revised their plans again. On December 19th, SpaceX received permission from the FCC to redeploy the first phase satellites across more orbital planes, and indeed they've started to move the satellites already in orbit. Rather than 66 satellites in 24 planes, the new plan calls for 22 satellites in 72 orbital planes.
Ah.
There seems to be an error in the database associated with the FCC filing, but this is what I think they're planning. The main reason to make this change is that it provides earlier coverage over most of the US. But what does it mean for ground relays? It turns out that it's still pretty good. Once the first phase is complete, there's pretty much no difference between the new constellation and the old one for most of the paths I've discussed. It does, however, require a few more satellites to be deployed,
Also, interestingly, when he's talking about the US, after these satellites continue their trajectory around the planet, moving away from the mainland US, they're in the same orbital path for the next landform, right? It's not just, they don't just stop once they leave the mainland. But I understand that Elon's obviously targeting mainland US, which has sketchy internet, as a beginning phase.
Before
Like a private high-tech P2P, yeah.
Will work continuously. It's also worth remembering that this is just the first phase. If Starlink is profitable, SpaceX have permission from the FCC to launch another 10,000 satellites across various orbits.
And this would obviously be something that ships like P&O and Princess and Alfie and Danny Black, these guys would love this, right? Because you could each ship could have a receiving station, and they could be their own. Dude, this would put a kill to all the sketchy internet while on board a ship at sea. Will be fun to work in the control room for this. Tim, just letting my mind have free reign this morning. Been a long, stressful week. May have some breakfast, then start drinking. Got a new LG 4K 75 television and plenty of DVDs. Oh, dude, that sounds rad. I gotta get a new TV too.
Taking the total number to nearly 12,000. I'll examine those plans further in another video.
Oh, that's the end of that video. Yeah, I mean, look, that's pretty interesting, right? I mean, a crew. Speaking of Alfie, look what just came up on the screen, folks. Go over here. Look what came up on the screen. Look at Alfie. Isn't that funny? I was just talking about Alfie, and then literally in the thumbnail coming up next, how did crew get a haircut on board a ship? That's classic. We won't check that out. We'll check it another time. But this is really, really engaging. This is really interesting. I gotta say, I've now learned something from this today. I've learned more than what I thought I did know, which wasn't very much. From watching that graphic and how that the movement of the, especially when he outlined where the satellites would go and how they would all cross and how they would trigger and translate between each other. But then when he said, don't forget the Earth is rotating as well, I was like, oh shit, of course the Earth moves. So that's why the base station is important. I feel like having seen that, I don't think it will be suitable for IRL content that's moving. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Beer, what did you take away from that? Did you come away with the same thing I did, where the concept of everything moving aside from the base station works because of the way that they all kind of interlink, but the second you move the base station, then you're now connecting to a different orbital path between that satellite and this satellite. Instead of saying on the same one that was doing the circuit, you're now having to jump from this one to that one to this one to that one, and thereby you're getting more and more latency. That's how I understood it. Why wait to finish breakfast? I don't have to eat later. I watched Alfie's live stream. Alfie's smashing it, isn't he? He's smashing it. You should be drinking during breakfast. Don't you know it's Saturday? Bird beer. How's that Liddell beer going? How's that little beer going, Liddell? Mindy, I have bad vibes thinking of all that space junk. I mean, yeah. That's a fair point. That's a lot of stuff up in space, but then again, is that really a problem if space is infinite? Even if those, let's just say, right? Let's just say Elon had a system in these satellites that after let's say they had a lifespan of say 10 years, right? At the 10-year mark, each of those satellites was triggered to be replaced by another one. And what they did with the satellite when it became expired was to trip out a propulsion mechanism that would send that satellite into far orbit and just basically send it on its way into infinity. Now you might say, dude, what? So the satellite's no longer used in this array, and instead of bringing it back to Earth and trashing it, They just jettison it out into space, right? Send it on its way. And using the theory that things never slow down in space, it's constantly disappearing into, or fucking shoot it into the sun, for fuck's sake. Realistically, isn't that like what? I mean, why don't we shoot our garbage into the sun? I know it sounds terrible. It's like saying just dump it in the ocean, no one will ever see it. But theoretically, space is infinite, so no one will ever see it. Am I wrong for saying that? Is that the wrong way to think of it? But it's a bizarre thing to think of because it is infinite. We'll never see it. There's no one else out there that we know of. Certainly we've been trying to connect with them and they're not answering. So who cares? I'm just saying, I'm just being the messenger here. We can't see the end of space. We've got a never-ending supply of these satellites that we're going to use for a certain time frame. When they get to their 10-year anniversary, instead of pointing it to Earth, we turn it around, we point it the direct opposite. We open up a little hatch, fires a little rocket, shoots it out into space, and therefore it just continues that way forever. And it's gone. Mindy, I don't think that would be possible, but who knows? Why not? Our atmosphere is not infinite, but we got to break the atmosphere, Mindy. We break the atmosphere, right? We break out of the atmosphere and we go through into space. From every Doctor Who episode I've seen, space is infinite. And once you start a pathway into space, you never slow down. You continue in infinite. You continue in infinitism. What's the word where you don't slow down? You just keep going? You keep going. Like when it falls to Earth after expiration. Yeah, and that's because it's in low Earth orbit, right? So we got to break that orbit. There's got to be a propellant that pushes it through the rest of the atmosphere. As far as I understand. Now, I don't know much about this, let me be clear, but I understand a little. Folks, I feel like we're coming to the end of the stream here. I want to say thank you for the conversations we've had today. This is exciting. This is interesting. I don't know how it's going to play out for my use case, but I'm certainly going to continue keeping up to speed with it. And if there's new developments, please let me know on my channel, and we'll continue to look at it. But for the time being, I'm going to continue using my Optus 4G, my Telstra 4G, combined with a LiveU Solo and their bonding service to do live content from the road. Now that's coming up very soon on this channel and on DLive. That type of fuel would not age well on satellites. It's true. Great stream, always fun. Thank you. There's my outro music rolling now, folks. Charlotte Rose, thank you so much for the donation. I will see you on DLive. We will do a long form cap game with Jack. See you all next time, you beautiful people. Wow, what a stream. Hello, Elon.
Oh, that's we're out of time.